One second. One second. There we go. We're in business. So what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Can you guys hear me? So in today's live stream, I'm going to talk about the best opportunities to make a ton of money. The economy right now is opening itself up for entrepreneurs to really take advantage of what I believe is going to be the greatest wealth transfer in human history. Now, I talk a lot about on this channel, the big changes happening with inflation, policy, and some of the things that we should be looking out for as investors. But some of the things that we should really be paying attention to is going to be the change in how consumers take in information, how they spend money, and where the big opportunities are going to unfold over the next 6 to 12 months, because people are creatures of habit. The more change occurs, the less likely it is that they're going to go back and fall back into their old habits. What I believe is happening right now is I believe that data is more valuable than gold. And right now, all of us that have internet connection, that have a idea in this economy, as long as you can accumulate data and information and supply a very valuable end result to that consumer, you're going to have a very hard time failing. Now, what happened before in the traditional economy is that you would go to school for 4 years or 8 years, take on, $100,000 in debt, and then after you graduate, you would work underneath someone, and then eventually in your late 30s, early 40s, you'd pay off the college debt and eventually make some money. But now we're having so much opportunity unfold right in front of us because the old traditional business models in America that we've been so accustomed to are all likely going to be tested. And so that is where all this opportunity unfolds and really unravels for all these new entrepreneurs, these new aspiring hustlers, to get out there and take advantage of it, coupled with very low interest rates and the fact that there's so much liquidity in this market. There's so many people looking to allocate their dollars that they know are going to fall in value into a project or an opportunity that offers great upside. So yeah, please smash that like button. So look, I'm going to talk a couple things. First and foremost, we have this opportunity for employment, finding employees. Right now, we're having the Great Resignation, where we're seeing millions and millions and millions of people quit their job every single month. Every single month, people are leaving. Everything is so much more expensive when you go out food shopping, and just life is more expensive. So the salary that they were once earning no longer is going to support the lifestyle that they were accustomed to. So what I think is the big opportunity here is I think that it's going to be easier to find top tier talent to work with a project, to work on a project with you, or partner up with someone to create something. People right now are looking for opportunities to gain freedom. Freedom is crucial in this environment. People want to be able to go out there and call their own shots and control their own lives. So finding top tier talent has never been easier than it is right now. Next is this wealth transfer that we're going to be seeing. I think is going to be mainly, it's first going to happen in real estate. Real estate, a lot of people have a lot of debt associated with their properties, and now incomes are going to be tested on a lot of these commercial retail business models. We're going to start to see a lot of these models start to fade and fall. So what I believe is going to be some big opportunities, like for example, what I heard Amazon is doing right now is that they are actually buying items from Walmart and selling them, almost like drop shipping them on their own website. They're literally buying them from Walmart and then selling them through Amazon and making a kickback on the sale. So what I think is going to happen is I think that there's going to be so much opportunity to be that middleman throughout this entire market, throughout this entire transition, as these lifestyle habits that people are accustomed to start fading away. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity, especially in the barter space. I think the barter space is really going to take off, like the black market almost, where people are, exchanging goods. I think that is going to be a huge opportunity. In fact, I would probably call that one of the biggest because if you can get even 1% or 2%, kind of like a commission on a platform in which you're introducing buyers and sellers together, I think the opportunity there is huge, whether it be through an app or a community or a Telegram group. I think that opportunity is going to be very, very big. And also this change in consumer behavior, like this untapped market, what we're seeing now, whether it be through healthy food and distribution, we're seeing a lot of bottlenecks inside of the shipping and distribution area. So if people are able to solve some of those issues, whether it be through negotiating vendors or transportation or making things a little bit more seamless for the consumer, that is very, very valuable. But people would say, well, of course, but that seems very hard. But the data and information that you'll collect along that journey are going to be more valuable than the customer's value to you initially. Kind of like how Facebook's business model works and a lot of these tech platforms, is that they are essentially harvesting gold through all of their consumers. They know what they're spending, who their friends are, what their habits are. And this moment right now, people don't know where they can find the value that they are accustomed to. So they just go to the tried and true, which is going to be Facebook and Google and a lot of these websites to try to find the solution. So if you're able to supply that solution to the customer before, Elon Musk actually said it best. Elon Musk said, when you enter a new market and there's no competition, the consumer has less expectation on you because everything around, they don't have any other alternative to base your value on. So if you're entering an untapped market, even if your offering isn't the best, but there's not much competition, you're going to win. And then over time, your service and product and offering is only going to get better and better and better as you get more feedback from the consumers in the marketplace. This online potential, though, that we're seeing right now is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Like for me, for example, this setup that I have here, I have a monitor and a computer screen. You can reach the entire world with online. And what I'm seeing happening right now is what I think is where we're stepping into the next 2 years, is we're going to see a lot of mom and pop businesses go online, right? And they're going to go online and they're going to compete with a lot of these big corporations for the same customer. But these big corporations are in a position to pay a lot more money for that customer because they're going to buy the value of that customer over the lifetime of that customer, right? Well, most mom and pop businesses can't do that. And they're basing the entire price that they're willing to pay for advertising to get that customer based upon a single sale, right? And so with platforms like YouTube and platforms, like Google, where you're able to essentially partner up with these platforms and gain an audience, and you're making ad revenue based on the advertisements that they place on your videos. So you're kind of a partner with them, and you get to gain an audience of like-minded people just like you for free. And then there's a lot of opportunity with that. Essentially, what I think happens with YouTube and a lot of these platforms is I think that depending on the size of your audience and who your niche is and what your demographic is, that some of these YouTubers and some of these people on social media will make contracts with, for example, like Gatorade would partner up with an NBA athlete, or a boxer would partner up with another vendor, and they would get a very, very large commission for a 3 or 4 or 5 year contract. I think the same thing is going to come true with social media. But what's going to be unique about this specific offering is as the price of advertising increases, it's going to get much harder for these small businesses to actually advertise to gain customers. So I think that they're going to actually start partnering up with a lot of these influencers, and the influencers are going to get paid in equity. And so if the company does very well, then the influencer will do extremely well, right? So with this online offering, if you have an interest, for example, and this interest it could be even gaming, like whatever it is, you have an interest, you study this stuff for fun, you personally enjoy it. If you really enjoy what you're doing research on, you're going to end up making so much content because it's not going to feel like work. And then other people that watch that content, that engage in that content, you're going to build out a community of people like you, which is going to be so valuable. So if you are thinking about getting started on YouTube or social media, I think really right now is the best time to do it. I think in the next couple of years, it's going to get harder and harder because there's going to be so many people that are in between jobs that are kind of pushed against the corner that are like, okay, what are my options? And one of the best options, I believe, is the online business model through online platforms. Through these online platforms, you don't have to pay to get in front of customers. You're just organically building an audience and getting paid for it. And so where I'm seeing this, though, this whole big opportunity of these very, very low interest rates, coupled with the extreme amount of liquidity in the market, coupled with the opportunities surrounding all this untapped potential. Like it's harder to name industries that have not changed than have changed. Like literally every single industry for the most part has changed in a huge, huge way, right? And so the big industries I think that are going to change next are going to be real estate. I think real estate is going to go through a massive transition, right? But I also think another industry that I personally love myself that I'm attempting to start up right now, it's actually relatively complicated, in terms of like the paperwork. I'm going to be issuing small loans online in 20 states in America. And I'm literally, every single state has their own lending laws. So I have to go through every single state. I'm an accountant, an attorney, everyone's working on it. And we have to file for every single state. But what I think is really cool is the opportunity there. Like I think the opportunity for small loans online, any really online business in which you don't have to ship a product, it's literally done digitally. That is dynamite because you can literally do those transactions from anywhere in the world. And you could do an insane amount of volume in these transactions, and you could do it with a very small team. So the less moving parts, the better. And so that's the big question here. The best business models going forward are going to be the ones online. It's going to be the ones tech driven. And now we are all fortunate enough to establish this with almost no debt, no leverage. Anyone here in this chat could easily start an online business, like absolutely just easily. And that's the big opportunity, because one thing I promise you guys is that you don't want to do is have your hand out with Uncle Sam, because that free ride is going to, I think, get harder and harder and harder. And so the more opportunity you have, the more independence you have, the more opportunities will open up for you. And that's why I myself, I'm going to dabble into quite a few things. One of the big things I think right now, as I mentioned, is money lending. I think social media is huge. I think that's a really, really big component with online business. Really all business going forward is going to have a social media or digital footprint. Look at every single big industry, whether it be Walmart, Amazon, DoorDash, everything is going to be app and tech based. The problem with apps though, is they're expensive. They're expensive in the beginning. So what I think is smart is if you can build a platform initially that's going to bring in enough capital, at that point, you can then allocate that capital towards building out further infrastructure like an app. Like for example, my lending business is going to start out exclusively as a website. Once it hits certain numbers, then I'll build out the app. But the app could be $200,000 or $300,000, but I'm not in a position where I'm going to just dump $200,000 or $300,000 and see if it works. If the business is viable via the website and I see the success, then there's no risk in building out the app, or very minimal risk, right? But if you're going to just jump into dumping a ton of money, I don't think that's smart. What I do think is smart though, is incorporating an online platform right now, like right now. And this is the ultimate time because of this great resignation. Like what I would be doing if I were any of you guys, and even myself, like I'm thinking about even posting stuff like this on Instagram, is finding people in businesses or niches or market segments that greatly interest you via LinkedIn through really big companies or companies that you really admire or aspire to work at or be a part of, and see if you could have coffee or lunch with someone in a position that you want to be in and pick their brain for free. Right? Offer value to them. I always think that the best way to open a relationship is to give more value to that person than you expect to receive on the other end. And then at that point, it becomes a no-brainer for them to engage in a 20 or 30-minute coffee with you. And then who knows where that goes. I do believe, though, at the end of the day, that relationships are paramount. Great relationships coupled with great ideas And in this market right now with very low interest rates and so much liquidity available, there's endless opportunity. So I know I post a lot about, a lot of the problems happening in the economy, but there is so much opportunity behind those problems. Endless opportunity to make endless money. Because you have to think about it. Every single business, as I've mentioned, over the last 50 or 60 years, the tried and true business models are all going to be tested to the brink, I believe, over the next couple of years. And it's up to us, it's up to everyone to build out the future and not let everything just happen. You build out the future and you'll make a ton of money in the process. What do you guys think about this? I made over 80K in less than 8 weeks. I have an online business. I make more in a month than I used to make in a year. Boom. That's awesome, man. Congrats. I'm happy for you. Evergrande will come to a head. What plans do they have for third world? Even like third world, right? That's the other really cool thing here is that even with this online platform before, like for example, my dad used to own a TV shop in New Jersey. They would fix TVs before flat screens came available. And he would spend thousands every month advertising in the yellow pages. It was the only option back then. This was like 15, 18 years ago. And all he could service was that county in New Jersey. That's all he could service. And he had a bunch of trucks and he was driving all over New Jersey trying to do these TV repairs. And you think about all the effort, all the hassle to do that and dealing with customers face to face, angry customers, people that he couldn't fix the TV, just wasted all that time and effort with free estimates. Now with online, you don't have to spend anything and you could reach the entire world. You could reach somebody in Bangladesh, you could reach somebody in Australia, reach somebody in LA or New York, it doesn't matter. And I mean, I've sold courses and mentored people in Australia and as far as Bangladesh, and I even helped someone flip a duplex in, I think it was Dublin. But it's crazy, right? All through social media. That would have never, ever happened had social media not been a thing. And so that's why I say this big opportunity that we're sitting at is never going to come back ever again. Because what I think does happen though, is as I mentioned before, 2 to 3 years from now, what we're going to see happen is we're going to see so many people fighting to, take dominance over social media and through online platforms. And so the people right now that are saying, this is the moment, I'm starting this business right now, those are the people that are going to just kill it. They're the people that are going to do so well. That's why I'm working so hard, not just on this YouTube channel, but on my businesses. I'm working hard. I'm investing hard. I'm doing everything now because I realize if you make the smart plays today, no matter all the problems that could come down the road, you're going to be a hell of a lot better off prepared than just waiting and sitting there and be like, oh, okay, let's see what happens. We know what's going to happen. We know prices are going to continue getting out of control. We know taxes are going to continue going up. And we know it's going to get harder for the people that are not making moves and the people that are making moves. People that are making moves will be in a better position. That's why even right now, if you have nothing, you have no money, literally nothing, you're in a job that you don't like, this is an amazing opportunity for you because you can get all the information that you need to make a great decision on a new business or a new venture or a new business partner online for free, absolutely for free. You can download the books online. You can reach out to the people on LinkedIn. You can connect with people. You can DM people on Instagram. One of the guys that built out my first website, he DM'd me and he said, hey, let me build out this. It was a funnel. Let me build out this funnel for you. And all I ask is that you give me a percentage of the first couple sales. We did weekend sales. Give me a percentage of the first couple of sales that you do on a story swipe up. So he literally built out the entire website for me. I gave him a percentage. He ended up making about $10,000 on the percentage that we agreed to in a couple weeks on these little weekend sales that we did on my Instagram, right? And so the kid was 18 years old, lives in Florida. We're still friends to this day, but it was just him and his other little buddy that built out the website. The website, it made sales, but it was definitely not pretty by any means. It was a pretty rough and rugged website, but he threw it together. He figured out how to do it on ClickFunnels, made it happen, made $10,000, right? And a lot more than that later down the road because we did a lot of other things together. But that's the power of social media. And that's why I think this moment that we're all living in right now It's an amazing time to be alive, and it's an amazing time to start a business. It's an amazing time to build relationships. So, yeah, I mean, Minority Report movie, real estate business, farmer. Would I have? So, I mean, I love real estate, as I mentioned. Some of my reservations, though, about real estate are a lot of these changes in terms of, what landlords are going to do with their properties, and some of these new expectations that are placed on property owners. So, I'm going to kind of wait to see what happens with that over the next 6 months to see what we learn there. But I do love farmland. I love farmland as an investment. I love real estate as an investment, but just as of right now, I'm just very curious as to kind of how all that lays out. But another great thing too is one way that I would love to look at business is I ask myself, what does the future look like in 3 years or in 5 years, right? What are the habits people will have at that time, and try to build out solutions for those problems and reverse engineer the business into the future. That mindset is going to do, wonders. People are going to want to sit home. They're going to want to sit home, and they're going to want things easily delivered to them. They're going to want information quickly. They're going to want everything immediately. That's why we're seeing Walmart and we're seeing Amazon. We're seeing a lot of these big corporations trying to build out platforms in which they can deliver products to consumers in 30 minutes or less, right? So, but then again, people are also not going to want just that. People are going to want human connection. Human connection. I don't think that's ever going to change. Where you can really get in front of people, human connection, real relationships, and social media. Again, it's the place to do it. Someone say, could you through a couple of examples, guide us through the thinking? Sure, Will. Give me, when you say a couple of examples, tell me what you mean by that, and I'll give you a couple of examples. Do you mean, because I mentioned a lot of different things. Like, for example, like my business, hold on one sec. I'm paying down my line of credit. I almost paid off IRS $19,500 down to $600. I'll save $400 a month after that. Congratulations, man. I'm really happy for you. Getting out of debt. A lot of people ask me, hey, John, what's the best investment? One of the first things I ask them is, how much money are you looking to invest? And usually it's probably, $3,000 or $5,000. I ask next if they have credit cards at 25 or 26% interest. If they say yes, I say just pay off as much of that credit card as you possibly can, because no investment I can suggest to you is going to make more than a guaranteed 26% a month interest. The delivery system allows for fewer brands to be on offer because they try habits won't be as prevalent. Well, so what also is going to happen though with this delivery system that they're going to be building out, Amazon's going to be doing really well, right? A lot of these drones, startups, Drone Up, for example, that partnered up with Walmart, it's going to do really well, I believe. But what people are going to be looking for, again, is going to be that connection, and people are going to be looking to barter. I do believe the barter economy is going to come back and bigger than ever. I think it's going to be so huge over the next couple of years. Like, the opportunity is going to be almost endless. If I could pick one business right now, and it wasn't in AI, it wasn't in robotics, and I had to start it up with almost zero money, it would be a barter system in which I could build out a platform and I can connect buyers and sellers, and I could get a fee for that introduction or that transaction. It would be, the transactions would be done safely and securely, and it would be on some type of blockchain or something to where I could register the transactions and the buyer and seller are both protected, and I could get a fee on every single transaction. If you can do that, that would be huge. Like, you could be a billionaire if you could set that up. Billionaire many times over. But you have to look at what people are going to be thinking in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years. People are going to be, they're going to look at things differently then than they've ever looked at them in the past, I believe. No time for farms. Farming is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I mean, I think it actually sounds better than actually doing it. I think when you actually do it, it's probably gruesome work, long days. So, but I do think farmland as a whole, long term, is going to be a really, really good investment. I have one duplex left, selling it as soon as possible. Never want to mess with a renter again. We'll be out of farmland. Well, so that's interesting too. Hey, John, let me ask you, what state is that in? What state is your duplex? Because what I'm thinking, we start seeing more and more is going to be the exodus of mom and pop landlords in certain places that have struggles. Another thing that I also think is going to be really big, I think there's going to be a huge opportunity, is going to be how can you establish a platform? This is just an example, but I think it's huge. What platform could exist to ensure a landlord gets their rent from a tenant? So what I think is probably going to happen is we might see a situation where tenants are, they might have to give over the pink slip to their car as a form of, security, and they pay the full 12-month lease. And at the end of the 12-month lease, they get the pink slip back, right? I think there's going to be a situation that could happen like that where the landlord is going to want much more security to rent. And they'll say, okay, in exchange for this, I'm going to give you a better rental rate. The landlord sleeps better at night. The tenant gets a better deal, and they have a contract or something in place to build that out. Because I think a lot of people are going to be nervous renting forward. 1 year up front, yeah, I rented a few units in LA, and one of the ladies gave the entire year up front, and I gave her like 25% off the rent. And another one gave 4 months up front, and I gave her about 20% off. I'm like, hey, I might lose maybe $1,000 a month. It's unfortunate, but this was right in the beginning of all the closures. And I'm like, I don't want to take a situation to where I'm stuck losing between those two doors, $5,000 a month. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to take a short-term haircut, but in return, I'm going to have peace of mind. And so that's what I did. And I think a lot of landlords are going to say the same thing. Personally, I like shopping myself because even if I do have unusual products I use to diversify and try out different brands and products, I think the algorithm-driven ordering funnels, that it's a luxury to be able to do that. It really is. I cut my own lawn, wash my own car, cut my hair, service my cars, etc. But see, the thing is, like, the question then becomes, how do you outsource that for other people that don't know how? And with online, it makes things so easy. Like, look at, for example, Craigslist. That website has been around forever, and the founder is a billionaire, right? And it was a pretty simple type of platform. It was essentially just yellow pages online where people would just post. Then they started charging like $25 to post ads, and they made a ton of money. And I feel like that's kind of where we are right now. When Craigslist initially came out in the beginning, not many people paid much attention because it was so, hip and new, and it wasn't really that, accepted just yet. And then over time, it became the best spot to sell a lawnmower, to buy a weed whacker. People would go on Craigslist. And I feel like the same thing is happening all over. I think like we're really stepping into the cycle of the fourth industrial revolution. And the big question becomes what are these habits going to look like? And how can we solve those problems in advance? How can we take the meaningless dollars? These basically are meaningless paper fiat dollars that we're going to accumulate and allocate them into assets that are not just going to hold value, but are going to withstand almost all markets, right? And that's that big question. In fact, I have some front yard left. Go to the industry. I give to the poor, people on the streets, worthy causes. Yeah, I have a charity that I run in Camden. I don't really talk about much with my sister. It's called Hats for the Homeless. We were actually featured in a bunch of like CNBC, I think it was NBC in Philly, and we feed and clothe about 1,000 people, a little bit more every year in Camden, New Jersey, on in the winter, like around Christmas time. But I never talk about that on social media. But you just mentioned it, so I figured I'd. But I give to the poor, people in the street. I've converted my backyard. Yeah, big opportunities coming. Really, really big opportunities coming. I wanted to just hop on here and kind of have a conversation with you guys about it because, again, I talk about a lot of the things happening in the economy that aren't the best. It's not the best information in terms of happiness and all that. But I bring that information to you because I want you guys to be aware of certain things. But I'm going to be dropping a lot more information. I think on like Tuesday, Wednesday, I just bought an office that I'm going to be using kind of for desk and stuff like that. So it's a little condo that I'm going to just be using as an office. I'm going to do a little property tour there and a bunch of really, really cool content coming out about the business I'm launching and some of the new stuff that I'm doing. So, feel free to hit the notification bell to be in my next live stream. Consider subbing, and I'll catch you guys later.